Okay, Nick the Broker at Rubicon, and oh, by the way, it's Mimo's birthday. I think. So what are we gonna get him? We got a bottle of champagne around, Nick.
Yeah, in the refrigerator.
We got one in the refrigerator. Maybe when he comes in, we should open it up and have a little glass of champagne with Mimo.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think? We got it. It's cold.
He drinks whiskey, not champagne.
I'm not giving him whiskey. He's drinking my whiskey for 2 years. He's got a bottle of whiskey in the dresser. Okay, we've got more buyers in this market than we have sellers. All right? And the buyers can really hurt you if you're not careful. We know buyers are liars and the sellers are yellers.
Yep.
Okay? Now, it's not that the buyers lie, they misrepresent. The buyer says they only have 10,000, that means they have 20. All right? It's just what they do. Okay? And I'm the same way if I'm a buyer. I'm poverty stricken. You know, you go through the performance. Okay. Attracting buyers is the fastest way to make a commission, if you're going to make a commission at all. Okay? So, if you want to make the bucks as soon as possible, work with a buyer, but you got to work smart with a buyer. You can't work with a buyer and the buyer runs the show. You must be in control in a very nice, gentle way. You should have a cell phone. I mean, I'm finding people in the business, and you know how I am. I resisted completely. I got a cell phone that's 20 years old. You know, and we just can't, we didn't cancel the contract, we stopped the automatic payments because I'm going to go through what am I getting, an iPhone, Nicole? I'm going to get the iPhone. Remember that, Jose?
Right in the crooked.
And I'm going to show you my iPhone to intimidate you. See that? So the cell phone is essential, or an iPhone. At this point, it's not a cell phone, it's an iPhone. It's other agents, most likely, who will sell your listing. If you have a listing. If that agent cannot reach you, you're dead in the water. They got to be able to reach you. So with the iPhone, I'm always going to have, well, you see, with this thing, it has certain benefits. I'm always going to have it with me. So I'll always be able to answer it instead of my landline, which a lot of people don't have a landline now, right? Roman, is that true?
I'll have one. Haven't had one in years.
See, there you go. Okay. If the agent can't reach you, he may just forget about you. That agent may have had the buyer. And just because you missed the phone call, they're gone. He went to another property. So you gotta weigh this thing now. The agent wants to know the general parameters of the seller as well as how cooperative the listing agent is. That's true. If I have a buyer and I call an agent and they don't answer, that's strike one. I call an agent, they answer, and they're nasty. Strike two. That should actually, after strike two, I just don't bother with them. What do you think, Fred?
Waste of time.
Who needs that? I don't need aggravation. I got enough in life. Okay? Now, Jose, on the other hand, if you call, and Jose has the listing, and I have the buyer, Jose is so pleasant all the time, absolutely it'll work. It'll absolutely
Voicemail
work.
full.
But he doesn't have a smartphone or an iPhone. Now that's a problem, right? But he does. What have you got? A cell phone? Yeah, we're obsolete. I'm a dinosaur. The cell phone is out. Okay, now the agent who's calling you with a buyer wants assurance that he or she is not wasting their time. That's a big thing. Okay, so that's where you've got to show them you're ready to make this deal. Okay. If an agent with a buyer cannot get hold of the listing agent, forget it. There are so many real estate-owned properties on the market, short sales, foreclosures. The selling agent just moves on. If a house is vacant, nothing sells better than a vacant house because it's easy for the agent to go and show it to the buyer. All he's got to do is get in with the lockbox, the key, and everything. It's easy, and he doesn't have to call an owner, he doesn't have to make an appointment. A vacant house is gold. It always sells, okay? Think of the selling agent as a buyer with a real estate license. That's the way to think of it. So when the real estate agent calls, it's the buyer who's calling. That makes it very important. So you don't want to ever be nasty to an agent who's calling you. Remember we had an agent here who was pretty nasty? Well, that's not a good thing to do. When you hold an open house, offer an incentive. A raffle, a door prize, lunch, cash, something to get the agent to see your listing. You know, if you can have fun and do this business, and you can, it makes it so much better. Okay? Now, visit other agents' listings near your listing, and you can pitch your listing. Okay? You also get to see agents who are working. So Vinny, are you stopping by when you see an open house? Go in. Just go in. Say, I'm getting my real estate license and I'm with Rubicon, and they'll show you the house. They want you to go in, okay? And it looks good for them if you go in. So they're very happy to see you. A sign. Now some people put signs. Howard did this. You put signs, the sign for sale sign on a property, and it has your smartphone number, Jose. Or your home phone, or whatever. So the call does not come to the office. The call goes to your phone. Okay? That increases the probability of you making the deal if a buyer should be calling you. Visit, fax, mail to other offices in your listing information sheet. This is what I paid Nicole and Ashley to do. I paid them to get all the fax numbers of offices near my listing, and they would fax them, the commission and all of this other stuff. Of all the offices around my listing's always sold. Okay? Offer 3.5% to the selling agent. Always do what other people are not doing. And that's a good idea. You could do a mailing to the area around your open house, stating the owner will be absent. When you do that, all the neighbors come, when they know the owner will be absent, and we have the red invitation cards, right, with the stop sign on them. Okay, we'll show you that all one day. You can offer $500 to buyers to their school or church, or offer this to the agent. It's got a $500 bonus for you. Okay? Demonstrate to the selling agent that you will do everything to get their offer through. You, the listing agent, will cooperate in every way. That's very important. You could read this to the other agent. The other agent will say, I want to work with that guy, because he's gonna help me. Just write the offer. That's what I say to the agent. And I say, I don't care what kind of offer you write. I will present everything. Unless, of course, it comes from Jose and Fred. Then I say, get the hell out of here. I'm not presenting anything. I want to steal the property, for crying out loud. Okay, you as the listing agent will do everything for the selling agent until I write the counter offer. Because once I get them into the deal, they don't want to do all this work and back out. So I can now counter as the seller, as the seller's agent, and then proceed with the deal. Okay? Now here's where we come to the buyer. We got a buyer. Today JR called me. He's got a buyer. Listen to this. The buyer wants no down, a good area of the San Fernando Valley, a home for $200,000. Give me a break. All right? It's not going to happen. But that buyer wants you to run around. The buyer wants to exploit you. Okay? And that's not right. Okay, so I can't work with a buyer like that. I said, okay, go back to your buyer. Don't go out of your way. Just call the buyer, be very nice, and say, look, you're going to buy a condo. You're going to buy a condo in Sylmar, Sun Valley, somewhere in North Valley it gets less. Or you're going to buy something in Lancaster. And the buyer already said, no, I can't go to Lancaster because it's too far away. I have found sometimes the less qualified, the less money a buyer has, the pickier they are. Right, Fred? They want 4-bedroom, 3 baths, Sherman Oaks with a swimming pool for $200,000.
South of the Boulevard.
Hit them with a pie, south of the boulevard. What the hell are they doing? But you can't get upset. You got to be nice, okay? Explain that the market has changed. Lenders are extremely cautious. This is how to qualify the buyer. So you would have to see a credit report or some verification of the down payment and closing costs. Like maybe the buyer, as you as a buyer, let's say Fred's the buyer. Fred, you can go to your bank and get a qualifying letter. You see, I don't want to work with Fred because I don't know Fred. Can you still see me in there? I don't know Fred, okay? And maybe he's qualified, maybe he's not. I don't know. But I'm not going to go look around for houses and make appointments and meet him there or drive him there and use all of my time. I'm not getting any money, okay? So I want to be sure I've got what they call a live wire. Right, Nicole, from your electrical adventures? So a live wire means he's got a substantial down payment, he's got good credit, and he could qualify for a loan of $400,000 or $500,000 from a lender. You don't want to say it's from you. I don't want to say, okay, Fred, I got to see if you're qualified. You want to use what's called a third-party argument. And I say, Fred, it's not me, it's not you, it's the bank. It's the broker. Blame me for everything. I'm the broker. I get blamed for everything anyway. All right? So I need some kind of verification of the down payment, or the buyer might say, you got to go by your gut feeling. You might believe them. They say, well, no, I really do have $40,000 that we're down, and we've got good credit. Maybe they're telling you the truth. You got to decide how far you want to push this. Okay? Say, could we get a qualifying letter from the bank? The broker kind of asks for that sort of thing. All the buyer has to do, it's their time, not yours. They go to the bank and they sit with the banker, the mortgage broker, the lender, and they start filling out an application and all the other. They're doing the work, not you. And then the bank gives them a letter of authorization. Okay? And then they bring you that letter. Now they've done some work. Okay? And then I would start working with them a little bit. You go into the multiple on the computer and check out some houses and go over them with the buyer on the sheets. See, this is what I would do. And I would have the buyer, why don't you take a look at these houses? Here they are. And with your iPhone, you could get directions how to get to that house with no problem. And go see it. When you see something you really like, then I'll make an appointment with the listing agent or the owner for you to get inside this house so we can really look at it. Meanwhile, when you do that, you always have a purchase agreement in your satchel or whatever, your briefcase, whatever it is. You want to have that purchase agreement, okay? The only time I use a broker-buyer agreement is when I want to get rid of them, okay? But you can use the agency disclosure. Now this is brilliant. You have to do an agency disclosure anyway. So you say to the buyer, I have to do an agency disclosure. It's the rule of the multiple listing service and the Board of Realtors. So you whip out your agency disclosure. You see, now they feel they're committed. They're not really. Okay, you're just saying in that you are representing them. That's your agency disclosure. That might come up in principles. That's the class you're taking? Yeah. Agency disclosure is the law now. You got to do that. Okay. Now, is a retainer out of the question? I've never gotten a retainer. Have you ever gotten a retainer, Fred, from a buyer? No, once you do that, they're out the door. Okay? And you might want to get rid of them, so pull that card. Okay? If they say, well, I got 20 kids, our car's not working right, and we all want to go in your car. And we want to stop at Baskin Robbins for ice cream. Forget it! It's not going to happen. All right? So I said, well, no. We need a retainer of $500. And if they really are bad, I said $5,000. They got to go. Okay. This is not a funny story, but I got to tell it to you anyway. Okay, Jose, you know Cynthia Lee. She's still with us, Yeah, she's I don't know, in Arizona somewhere, doing some real estate, working with the Salvation Army. Okay, Cynthia Lee buys a new Mercedes. Brand new, beautiful car. She gets her client in the car, husband and wife and 2 children. And what happens? This is a brand new Mercedes, right out of the showroom. What is it? $100,000 at least. The kids get sick and they throw up all over the car. Now you see why I don't take buyers in a car, in my car. Forget it, it's not going to happen. And that's a true story. That really happened to her. She had to have it specially cleaned out. And who needs that goddamn aggravation? Anyways, don't let this happen to you. Remember this. All right? Don't become a victim, Roman. Pay attention, because I'm telling you, those buyers will drive you nuts. And they'll vomit in your car, for crying out loud.
An ex-girlfriend vomited in my car once.
Your ex-girlfriend threw up?
Yeah, it's not pretty.
What were you doing that she threw up, Roman?
Very good, touche.
I had to say that. That was too good. Roman, that was too good. Did she choke on something? What was it? I can't. I gotta stop. Anyway, she wasn't buying anything.
Well,
It was a relationship thing.
yeah.
All right.
I sold her on something.
Okay, now with buyers. Buyers, a lot of them, they don't really know anything. Okay, and here's where you perform a good service. They don't need 10% down. They don't need 20% down. They can do FHA 3.5% down payment. That's, and sometimes we can do all kinds of things with an FHA program. That's why I tell them they got to talk to their bank. And the bank has got to know what they're doing with an FHA program. Some banks don't do it. So you got to be very careful about that. But boy, an FHA loan is fabulous. Okay? Notice, I should underline that. The key is your presentation. All right, Jose, you're still on the joking thing? The key, this should go into funny stories. Anyway, the key is your presentation. Now, this is a good technique for distancing yourself from a client you know is not going to buy, or who has a relative who has a real estate license. Okay, when a buyer says to you, I know Fred's going to respond very strongly to this, oh, my cousin, my uncle, my brother, they have a real estate license, they're a broker. You just lost the deal. You're going to do all the work, and they're going to buy. They're going to have their brother, who has a broker's license, represent them, or an agent's license. It doesn't matter. You're going to lose the commission. And if you saw this guy, you would remember him. He was a Spanish guy, very sharp. This guy was brilliant. And he had a buyer, and the buyer had him show him properties and do all kinds of work. I mean, and he helped the buyer because he and the buyer worked together in the same company. Okay? So he thought he was very close with this buyer and had their loyalty. Bullshit. All right? Remember, the buyers are liars. As soon as the buyer found what he wanted, the buyer went to his uncle or cousin and bought the property. Our sharp agent at Rubicon finds out, goes crazy. I showed him 20 properties. We even wrote on a couple of properties. Nothing happened. I showed him this property. They really liked it. And then they wouldn't talk to me anymore. So when you call the buyer and they don't answer you or get on the phone and they're avoiding you, you know they went someplace else. So he then, our agent at Rubicon, proceeds to let these people know there's a procuring cause situation here. And the other broker doesn't do anything. The other broker says, I don't really care. I wrote the deal and they bought from me. And so we take them to the Board of Realtors. Okay? And they go to the Board of Realtors and the Board of Realtors say, no, you owe these people this money. And they say, well, we don't care because we're not members of the board. We're not going to listen to you. And that was the end of that. Then he sues them. Okay, he sues the other broker too. Sues everyone. This guy really does it, and he does it all on his own. Okay? He wouldn't stop, which was great, and I supported him completely. I said, whatever you have to do, I'm your broker. You're right. I agree with you. We're going all the way on this. And we used Russ Tomolka. You know Russ Tomolka. Jose, you see us talking to Mr. Malko all the time. He's working with Michael, he's working with me, he's working with Isaac. Mr. Malko's been our attorney for 25 years.
Okay.
Okay. So we sue them. Now this is where it gets funny. We're in the courtroom, right? And we want a trial with a judge. So we're in the courtroom. And the buyers who lied to us come in. Their uncle, the broker, comes in. The buyer's husband comes in. It's getting big now. And who else comes in? 4 attorneys. 4 attorneys! They got 4 attorneys to fight us. To make a long story short, they lost everything. Then they didn't want to pay us. The other broker didn't want to pay us. Our agent, remember now, this guy is going all the way. They said, well, we don't have any money. We're a corporation. We don't have any money to pay you. He says, I am going to subpoena you and your books. And they thought he wouldn't do it, and he did it. And then they paid, Fred. He said, I'm going to subpoena all your books, everything. I'm calling the Department of Corporations, right? That's another thing. So he went all the way, and they finally paid. But look at what he had to go through, Vinny. See, Roman, when that happens, you hate this business, okay? And you think, boy, is this going to happen every time? And no, it doesn't. But it can happen if you, I don't know, how could you have avoided that? Fred, how could you have avoided it? Paul, you got any ideas? I mean, they worked together with the buyer for years. He shows the buyer, he even wrote on a couple of deals. The buyer said, no, I didn't want those. And then the buyer goes behind his back.
Signed the paper in the beginning, the buyer-broker agreement. That's it.
So a buyer-broker agreement would have solved this. And I
It may
agree.
not have solved it, but it made it much easier.
It's a great point. The point is, would they have gone for the buyer-broker agreement
If they didn't, let them go.
before you even show them anything?
Before you even show them anything.
But he really, but he trusted these people. Like, I trust people occasionally, and you gotta be careful.
When they come to you and tell you, like they've told me, my refrigerator, I have all these properties I've been checking out.
Yeah,
Right there, if they don't sign something,
yeah.
what are you wasting time for?
So we think some sort of an agreement. Anybody's got any other idea? I
You
don't
have
know.
an agreement. In your files, you have an agreement.
Oh yeah, I got 3
Yeah,
or
that's
4
what I'm
different
saying.
kinds of broker-buyer agreements. When you really feel threatened, or you want to get rid of them, then you do that. Okay?
The time is money. If you don't get rid of them, you're looking over
Okay.
money.
Here are your red flags. My cousin is an attorney.
Yeah.
My cousin is a mortgage broker and makes hard money loans. We've been looking for 6 months. Well, that means they're probably not a buyer. Other brokers didn't want to work with me. When you hear that, that's a big one. That means they were so bad and unqualified, the other brokers threw them out of the office. My brother has a real estate license. I have a license but don't use it. Uh-oh. I'm an all-cash buyer. That is the biggest lie of all, I think. I mean, everybody I talk to, they're an all-cash buyer.
What you have to do in an all-cash
They
fund,
they want to intimidate you. They want to bully you. They want to bully you, Jose.
what you do when you put your offer in, you send proof of funds when you send your offer in, that's all.
Yeah, you do proof of funds, or
And that-
letter for yeah, something. I want us to protect ourselves. That's where I'm coming from
Exactly.
on this whole thing. Okay, I don't want us to be victims, and I don't want anybody to be a victim. Okay, but there are ways to protect yourself. And when the bad thing happens, you've got the MLS, you've got the Department of Real Estate, you've got small claims court, and then you can go after you can go beyond small claims court with an attorney if it's big enough. If you're looking at a $30,000 commission, so you spend $3,000 for an attorney. With the Simon thing, I spent $5,000 with an attorney, but I got back from Simon $11,000. And then from insurance, I got $29,000. I made a lot of money with Simon. All right? So there are ways to protect yourself, and you really want to know them, okay, in this business. And I think you really got the important stuff. Okay, Nicole, we can end that for buyers. That was pretty